Welcome, everybody. I'm so happy to join you again today from beautiful downtown Edwardsville, Illinois. It's November 5th. Today, for our independent consulting topic chat, we're going to be talking about names and logos. And as I was saying before I started recording, this is a topic for me because I spend a lot of time kind of explaining my company name. And so I have suggestions for other people with all of this. And maybe I can help you avoid some of my mistakes, but I'll also help you understand some of the thought process that I put into mine and things that I've talked to other people about with names and with logos. So let's get started. So I'm going to just go through three big naming hints that I've picked up over the years. One of them is to use your name. So this is a pretty common process. So for instance, Laura Keene, she has a fantastic last name. Her last name is Keene. Keene and Sets. You can't really beat that for a name. Michelle Bird with Bird's Eye View. She's based out of Austin. You've got, of course, Gail Barrington Research Group. Janice Sharp, Sharp Insight. She's based in DC. And Tamara Pamai Consulting. And Rita Fierro, and of course our good friend Susan Wolf and Associates. So this is the easiest way to name your company is just to use your own name. Some of the reason people do it, when I talk to people about it, obviously it's about you, right? You need to create a name that was separate from just hi, Matt Feldman. My father's company was named Feldman and Associates. And I actually thought about taking his name and his website and just creating it for myself at first. People do it because then you know who you're working with. People can quickly identify you as the principal person that they want to chat with. You are the center of your company. And so that's oftentimes why people are putting their name in their company name. I chose very early not to put my name into it. A couple reasons. Because there's two N's in my last name and people misspell it all the time. So I knew that was going to be an issue. And that's not the main issue. The main reason I didn't want to do it was because I thought when I was thinking up my idea for a business from day one, it was always going to be bigger than me. It was never going to be about Matt Feldman. And so I thought a company name should represent something bigger than my name. And secondarily, I don't know what book I read. I wish I could remember now, but somebody had said, remember your name becomes something separate from yourself, which is kind of a mind bender to me. But hypothetically, if I chose to sell my company to someone else, I'd be selling my name to them because my name at that point, we've developed value around it. So that is the reason why I stuck away from putting my name in it, because I thought Goshen Education Consulting, which is what the name I ended up choosing, could be somebody else's someday, and I can walk away from it. And if they do something terrible, right, then I don't have to worry. It doesn't come back on me or my kids or my family or anything like that. The greatest example of that locally for us is Hawthorne Animal Hospital. And everybody wants to talk to Dr. Hawthorne. Well, it was actually founded and started by Dr. Ertl. And I don't even know how to spell it. It's a hard spelling. But Dr. Ertl named his company, named his animal hospital for the hawthorn trees that grew outside of his, out of the veterinary clinic where he was located. And so he ended up selling the business, and it's a fantastic business. There's nothing wrong with it. But if he had named it Ertl Veterinary Clinic, which nobody would know how to spell anyway, which is a whole nother conversation, then you might have had that situation where something terrible happened, they did something illegal, and it comes back on him, and he had nothing to do with it. So that's kind of some of my thoughts on why I chose not to do a company name for myself. This is actually the suggestion that when you read the books and what people say you should be doing. Name your company for what you do and try and build that in there. And then I've got a couple ideas here. So we've got Amy Gurmuth's The Value 8. Well, I mean, that's actually ATE, by the way. That is a reference to advanced technological education. So she actually built in part of one of her major projects into the name of her company. And it's also, what we do. So I thought that was a fantastic idea. When you look at our website, it's evalue-ate. So that even works out nicely. You also have intention to impact. Nina Sabari, my bad. You gotta love this. Guess who does this one? Microquin Patents Utilization Focused Evaluation. That's the name of his company. It's the name of everything. He just built the brand and value and the book. It's all built into all one. So good for him. And then our good friend Ann Price, she does community evaluation. She's created the solution for community evaluation. Just built it right into the name. I love it. And then you've got other people like Elizabeth Oyers of Val Solutions. So these are some different ideas here. One of the things you want to make sure to be careful with here is, and this is actually something that Elizabeth Oyer may or may not know this, but there's more than one eval solutions out there. So you want to make sure somebody else doesn't have kind of a really similar name. The other one is eval space solutions. And I think it might be LLC and hers is Inc. So you got to be careful not to pick a name that's kind of familiar. You could also consider clever names. So here's a couple, three that popped up right away. I chose Goshen Education Consulting because I'm in, and this is probably, if I had to go back and do this, I'm not sure I would have landed on Goshen Education Consulting, but I have, and I've doubled down on it, and I'm creating value around it. But Goshen, that's the community that I live in. It's originally known as the land of Goshen from the 19th century. And so I just liked it because there's Goshen coffee around here in the Goshen Farmers Market, and there's a lot of little Goshen references. There's an elementary school that's Goshen Elementary. What I found after I named it and doubled down on the name was, I get confused with Goshen College in Indiana. There's a biblical reference to it, and sometimes people want to talk to me about the biblical piece to it, and I'm very familiar with that, but it's really not a premise for my company name. I love to tell the story about why I named it Goshen, not only because the community is Goshen, but we are at the terminus of the Goshen Road. So Goshen Road is this old road, 19th century road that traveled through like Ohio and Indiana and in Illinois, and it terminated here in Edwardsville when it was known at the time as the land of Goshen. And I like the idea of the star, which we'll talk logos in a little bit, because I have this view that you're following your dream, which is you're following the star. And the star, if you look very carefully, is made up of books. It's an education consulting firm, so that's where that comes from. But the problem with all of that is it's a really fun story, but it's really long and it's not obvious to anybody. So those are the things that I've learned about my company name. Again, I just say it is what it is. We're going to go with it. And maybe someday we'll get to the point where I have so much money and so much impact and things like that where maybe we'll go through a rebranding process, but I just don't see the value in that at this point. So right now it's Goshen Education Consulting from here on out. Other clever names are like a Value And, that's Kurt Nestis's company name. I love that because, a Value And, that's who we're serving as evaluators. You've got Jessica Pugel's working partner. And actually, I'll tell you, a lot of these actually may fit under that other name what you do. So perhaps working partner probably should fit under that description of the previous topic of doing what you do, or naming for what you do. I don't know this for a fact, but if you see her in her logo, that star, she's based in Houston, Texas. I think it's Houston. She's based in Texas, pretty sure it's Houston. And if you know anything about Texas, they love their star. So that actually has special meaning too. I've never had this conversation with her, but I'm pretty sure that that's part of the idea there. You've got Mindel and Anderson's Mirror Group. Who doesn't love a mirror, You've got Melissa Mercer-Tachik's Muse Educational Consulting. I love this, by the way, and I have never figured out whether I should have made after we're done. I want to chat about this, but education versus educational. People often call my company Goshen Educational Consulting. I actually haven't figured out grammatically whether it should have been education or educational consulting. I guess it doesn't matter. I'm not in consulting and education, so I thought that made sense, but we've stuck with it. VIA, well, we know Kamani Lundquist, that's her firm, and they have a big firm that's continuing to grow. Something else I like to see here is you'll see a lot of these companies have a little catch line. So VIA is a good example of this, where you see they're expert, timely, responsive. I believe Ann Price's also had a catch line on it. We'll have to go back and look at that in a second. But then you've got like Structured Solutions Educational Consulting, that is Amanda Klein's company. And notice how she focused in on that ed, because it is an educational company. So she's educational consulting too. Maybe I did it all wrong. I think Melissa and Amanda knew what they were doing and I didn't. But so you guys can tell me after we get into the thing, get into the chat. I'm not going to go through all these here, but Forbes does have 12 suggestions that they think you should be considering here. So I'll leave these here for you to read. A couple of things that popped out at me when I was reading about this was make sure it's a name that people can spell. So like I said, Feldman has 2 N's, and sometimes that's a problem. It's oftentimes a problem. You want to check to make sure nobody else has it already. So like I was talking about eval solutions, probably you want to make sure that somebody else doesn't use it. I'm not sick. Knowing Elizabeth, she probably chose that name first, and then the other person came along and didn't do their homework. You know, you want to try and see if it's catchy, try and get some feedback on it. So we've got we've got I can't think of the first name right now, but we're going to have a speaker. We're going to have Nils Young and Svetlana Negrostrueva, right? Svetlana's last name is Negrostrueva. I struggle to say that. I would imagine she wouldn't start a company with her last name, because not only do I struggle to pronounce it, and I practice, but it's really hard to spell, and I misspell it every time. I always have to go look it up. So she probably would be better with a name that is something else like that. Oh, good point. I forgot. I didn't even put this in here. Acronyms. An acronym doesn't mean anything to most people, so be careful around that. So IBM means something, but they've spent hundreds of millions, if not billions of dollars around their brand, and so people have identified what IBM means. But an acronym to somebody else is just 3 letters or 2 letters or 5 letters or whatever. So be careful with acronyms as a name. See if there's anything else here. Anyway, you can go to this citation and take a look. There's actually a lot of feedback on each one of those. So here's my 5.5 naming suggestions. First, consider whether you want your name associated with your business. Like by saying, if you sell your business down the road and the name, you're selling your name, and somebody can do something terrible on it, it could come back on you and you have no control over it. Although on the other end of things, people quickly identify who's the person in charge. And when you go into a meeting and you're Feldman and Associates and you're Matt Feldman, people are like, oh, I'm dealing with the main guy. Maybe that's a good thing. You want to avoid confusing or hard to spell names. If possible, build your brand identity into your name. So Keen Insights, that's her name. That is what she does. I think it's fantastic brand identity for Laura Keen. Think about memorable names. Again, VIA evaluation, that rolls off the tongue pretty easily. I like that. The V, that's a clever name. Don't make it too common, because it could be something that somebody else accidentally chooses down the road, like we were talking about. But at the end of the day, just double down and stick with it. You're going to create value around it. People aren't really buying your name. They're buying your services and what you can do for them. And I have clients who, oh, this is the other problem with my name, with my company name. Well, most people won't pronounce it. Well, most people know Goshen, but there's probably 25 to 30% of the people I meet think it's Goshen. And I have one client, she pays us so much money to do so many fantastic things, and she still calls us Goshen Education Consulting, and I just want to slap her. But again, that's really more on me than it is her. She just doesn't know. So I'm going to switch quickly over to talking about logos. This is going to be as much about the conversation after the fact, but I wanted to put this information out there. Probably this could be its whole session, a whole session on its own, and maybe we'll do that another day. But I thought to put these together, and so I'm just going to go with it. So suggestions for logos. Here's 16 ideas. I'm not going to read them all to you, but with logos, they kind of go hand in hand. So I want to throw this in here. Simplicity is a key here, right? Don't overdo it. Make sure you're thinking about how your logo is going to be used in different formats. Are you going to put it on your shirt? Are you going to put it on your sign? Think about your colors. You're going to end up with colors. Don't do too many colors, because certainly if you have 5 colors in your logo, you're going to have to, every time you print it, you're going to have to pay extra money for all of that. You're going to have to make sure the colors are right. It makes a lot of sense to go with just 1 color or 2 colors. I would not go with 3 colors. Just too many things going on there. And analyze your competition. I love to iterate, because you're just going to spend time doing it. Go back. Don't take the first thing that they give to you. Go back and forth with your graphic designer. And by the way, I think it's important at some point hire a graphic designer to do this. And I'm going to give you some examples of some logos in just a second. But at the end of the day, you want to stand out. Make sure you're designing in a vector format. If you don't know what that means you're designing a logo that has the ability to be stretched and put in different formats. If all they give you is a JPEG, JPG, then you need to ask for some more graphic formats. I think the other ones are like AI. I'm sure I can look it up. We'll look it up offline. But make sure your logo is something that can be used. They're usually going to give you about 3 or 4 different formats of logos. Yeah, make sure, and this is the other big thing, make sure it works in small scale. So I love all my evaluation friends, so I wouldn't put them through the torture of talking about what I like and don't like about their logos. But I will do that to my local friends here in Edwardsville. As a lot of you guys probably know, I run races, and I also help organize them locally. And so here are 9 logos from people who have given money to our local races as sponsors. So we've got the Law Office of Jesse Kester, Float. I don't know if you know what Float is, but that's really like lay in a saltwater bath and relax. Recess Brewing, so that's like a local brewer. Run Well, that is a running store. Respace Architecture. And I actually put these out there for you guys to consider. Taqueria Z, that's a taco place just over here. So some things that pop out to me about these logos. Taqueria Z, it's very kind of cool and it works for them, but it is very busy, right? You can see how it's very busy there. Lots of things going on up there at the top. It's not going to scale as well. Usually it's bigger. It's like they literally have stickers, and they've built their value around it. I think they're cool. People love them so much. There's a guy who got a tattoo because he liked the Taco House so much. But one of my favorite logos here is Runwell's. It's got the blue and the white. It's 1 color. I mean, it's technically 2 colors, but it can work in a lot of different contexts. You can reverse it. It was actually her boyfriend's brother who designed this logo and a lot of her graphics work. They spent a lot of time thinking about graphics work here. Let's see. Recess Brewing, pretty simple. It's nice, but it has that kind of rustic look. Maybe something that you'd see on the side of a brewery wall, right? I think that works out really nice. Float, this is actually a friend of mine, Karen. She is she owns Float Edwardsville, and she does graphic design work at the university. So I'm not gonna say anything too terrible about her, but what I like is how she built the catch line into the bottom, which tells you what it is. You go there to relax, refresh, and recover. And then Town and Country Bank, that's a big bank in our area in southern Illinois. They're based out of Springfield, I think, Springfield. And so you see there's like a nice little flowery thing growing out. I guess that's supposed to represent you're going to grow with the bank. One of the logos that I've been very vocal with the owner about her logo and how she needs to rework it is Freeman Law Office. That's Janelle Freeman. This logo is not a good one, and I'll show you why. Because when we took these logos and we put them onto a poster, this is what it looked like. Can you see Janelle's logo there? And this is what it looks like on a poster. And so you can see these other ones there as well, and how well they pop out. Our Metro Milers, that's our running club. Run well, they were the platinum sponsor. They just pop out. That's the first thing you see. So you know that logo is working really well for promotional purpose. But Janelle, she just got lost. You can't even read it. And so I've talked to her about that. Oh, here's another great name for a company. This is another animal hospital in our community, ARC Animal Hospital. They built their logo as an ARC. I think she might have a little bit of issues with it being busy because there's a lot of little detail in there that's not going to scale to smaller pieces very well. But how fun is it that she actually built an ARC into her logo. All right, well, for now, I'm looking forward to this conversation. I want to definitely spend some time talking about what you guys think about logos, what you think about company names, and I definitely want to spend some time talking about how you think about catchphrases. I know Anne probably has some thoughts on this. So thanks for listening. And here's our upcoming sessions. We're booked up. I just today booked this up through the end of December, and we're booking up all the way through the end of February right now. So I've got lots of sessions coming up. We've got Tamara Homai next week. Ann Price is going to be the week after that. We need to figure out her topic. She's got about 10 different things. Thanksgiving, we're going to be off. Susan Wolf is going to coordinate the meet because that's a 2-hour session. It's a different sign up, by the way. I just talked with Marcela Gutierrez, and she wants to talk about generalists versus specialists. And there's a lot of conversation about what that's going to be. But then we're bringing Gail Barrington to close out the year, and she's going to present on one of her favorite topics, which is independent consulting as a second career. All right, I will see you guys later, and join us when you get a chance.